The first week of unofficial testing at Barcelona for 2022 is now over, and I wanted to go over each of the teams to see how they stack up after week 1. Now, to clarify, this is not me ranking how fast they are compared to each other, or where I think they will finish in the constructors. This is a ranking of how good I think they were relative to expectations, and also how good they looked in terms of their reliability, mileage, and yes, their fastest times as well. Now, I should also say that I'll be doing this again after Bahrain, where we will have more definitive information, but for now, let's see how the 10 teams stack up after week 1. It's difficult to look at any team and make predictions that you feel confident in making, but with Mercedes, I'm pretty confident that even after 1 week, at the very least, I don't think that they've dropped the ball. The two biggest positives for Merc was their car and also George Russell. The W13 did the second most miles with great reliability, and although no one can say if it's faster than the Red Bull or not, what I can say is that outside of their mileage, when the drivers were put on the softest tyre, both were able to extract pretty similar levels of performance out of the package to go fastest. As far as Russell, everyone knows that I have been hyping him up for the past 2 years as a Verstappen and Hamilton caliber driver, and with that hype comes big expectations from me, and so far he has delivered. He looks as if he's been at the team for years, and for all that it's worth, when both him and Lewis did a few glory runs on the C5 tyre, Russell finished just a 10th behind Hamilton. I'm not saying that that'll be the gap between them, but it's pretty obvious already that Russell is not going to be a Gasly Red Bull 2019 situation. When it comes to Red Bull, I would copy and paste a lot of what I said about Mercedes. On the negative, they did lose a bit of running with Checo due to a gearbox issue, but other than that, the car was quick, Max did a huge number of laps, especially on the first day, and he was even comfortable enough to experiment with different driving styles. He was much more smoother compared to his all-out aggressive style, and it will be interesting to see if this is because that's what you need to do to extract the performance out of the RB18, or if pushing any more maybe unveiled some weaknesses in the car. That's something that only the team will know, but for what it's worth, if it does require a smoother driving style, that should swing the pendulum a little bit back towards Checo, and maybe this is a small part of the team trying to make sure that both of their drivers can extract more performance out of the car. The only thing that I think has been left on the table by Red Bull is that they weren't tempted with Max to do any glory runs on the softest tyre like Mercedes. So at least in my opinion, I think there's definitely still plenty of pace left in Max's pocket, which I look forward to seeing more of in Bahrain. Undoubtedly, the most intriguing team was Ferrari. In terms of just the pure numbers, they did the most laps out of any team, Carlos Sainz did the most laps out of any driver, and for all that it's worth, I talked about Max setting his fastest time on the C3 tyre and having plenty left in the tank. Leclerc set Ferrari's quickest time also on the C3 tyre and was a 10th quicker than Max. The biggest positive for Ferrari was reliability, as for 2022, they have a brand new power unit and so far, everything looks to have gone very smoothly. The team did have a few issues and were one of the worst affected by the porpoising of the cars, and that's something that they really will need to get on top of, but from everything that the drivers and Matteo Binotto have said, there is a quiet confidence around the team, but understandably, they're also trying to control expectations. When it comes to Ferrari, I'm going to be carefully cautious but excited because they can either make you look like a genius or a clown, so that's why I'm not going to say they had a better first test than either Red Bull or Mercedes, but everything looks good so far from the team in red as it stands. Even though McLaren didn't have as much buzz as Red Bull or Ferrari, they still went about their business and had a very solid first week. Maybe controversially, even though they did the third most laps and set the third quickest time, I've got them in 4th, simply because I think especially Ferrari still have a little bit more left in their locker, but honestly, they're all very close. When Lando set the quickest time on day 1, I think it almost annoyed McLaren a little bit in a weird way because under Andreas Seidl they have been notorious for always playing down their chances, And Lando himself on social media then jokingly, and maybe not jokingly at the same time, played it down saying that now everyone expects them to be fastest. Either way, you can't play down the fact that their car looks good. Gary Anderson from the race said that Ricciardo at times was overdriving compared to the smooth and tidy Lando, but overall the thing that I'll be looking for from them in Bahrain is consistency. Can they continue to post big mileage numbers every day, and then can they also be in or around that top 5 in terms of times? Low-key is the best way to describe Aston Martin. They definitely had a few setbacks. On the final day, an oil leak caused their engine to have a fire, and unfortunately that lost them the rest of day 3. But other than that, it was a low-key and solid first test, with generally positive noises coming from the team. They said that they had a good understanding of their car, which was the main priority, and that more than anything else, it's a very good base for them to start learning and developing. As far as improvements, I think more laps is definitely something that I'd want to see more of in Bahrain, because more miles means more information and a better understanding about the good and bad things about your car. And if we remember, mileage was something that they struggled with during preseason testing in 2021. AlphaTauri, similar to Aston Martin, had their final day cut short as Pierre Gasly crashed out in the morning session. But looking at the first week as a whole, the team itself actually said to the media that in general, they were very happy with the speed and balance of their car, so clearly they feel as though they've done a good job. They're a team that didn't set timing screens alight and didn't really get any headlines, but like Aston Martin, it seems like those two are on a similar level at the moment. The only worry for me is seeing Yuki Tsunoda only do the 16th most laps with 121, and whilst he did lose his final day due to Gasly's crash, considering his struggles last year, he definitely needs to do more laps to make sure that he's more able to consistently extract the performance out of the car relative to Gasly. Williams had a solid but not all that impressive first test. The number of laps that they did was very encouraging, although from all of the reports that I've read from people trackside, it just seems that whilst their car is solid, it didn't exactly allow the drivers to push more than they did. The biggest positive was actually Alex Albon, who at least on paper looks to be fairly close, if not ahead of Latifi already. Alex did the 4th most laps, which was very encouraging when it comes to getting him back up to speed, and for what it's worth, Williams ran both of their drivers on all 3 days, and Alex finished ahead of Latifi on every single one of them. Yes, we don't know what programs they were running, but that is the perfect start for him considering that he's supposed to be the team's new lead driver. Alpine are the first of the teams that I would confidently label as not having a good first week. In the first 2 days they ran without using DRS and were very coy about why they weren't using it, which to me indicates that they ran into some kind of issue that was unexpected. Now Alpine have also introduced a brand new concept of power unit going with the split turbo, and although in the first 2 days each of the drivers did an impressive number of laps, very early on the last day they had a hydraulics problem which caused their car to end up in a cloud of smoke and basically lost them an entire day. Now, the team have actually done a lot of talking and have tried to really play down their issues by saying that there's still plenty of time left to find after they start using the DRS and when they start doing more runs on softer tires and lower fuel. But there's a reason why they weren't able to use DRS, why they've had all these issues, and why they haven't done any quick laps. So this is actually the only team for which I'll say, as far as Bahrain, I want them to actually put their money where their mouth is and in the first few days actually set some quick laps to prove that when their drivers are told to extract performance out of that car, that it's actually there like they keep saying it is. Now, there's a lot of things outside of testing that have been going on at HAAS, but I'm going to focus on just the on-track performance. The team had a disappointing first week, especially when you take into account that so much focus was put into 2022. The car by all accounts wasn't great in terms of allowing the drivers to really push, but what was more of an issue was their reliability. They had an issue which cost them track time on every single day, and therefore they need to establish a good base of reliability first so that they can actually do consistent long runs with no issues, and then you can do some lighter fuel runs on softer tires when you've gathered all of the data that you need. As far as a personal target that I have for them, by the end of Bahrain, I think making up for their lack of running by finishing in the top 5 in terms of total laps completed would be a big step in the right direction. There's no sugarcoating that Alfa Romeo had a nightmare first week. They had multiple reliability issues from the very first day, and the porpoising issue which affected all of the teams actually damaged their car, and they had to not only fly out parts overnight, but also do some modifications to their car. People trackside said that of what they saw of the car, which was very little, although it seemed fairly well balanced, it simply lacked grip and downforce, especially in low-speed corners. Even though rookie Guan Yu Zhou got 112 laps, which is okay, that's only the 17th highest. And most worryingly, Valtteri Bottas, who drove on all 3 days, only managed 54 laps. And this is supposed to be their experienced race-winning driver who will be leading the car's development. First and foremost, the team needs to use the data that they do have to fix the car so that it can run consistently, and from there just having a clean week of testing with minimal issues would be my target, and just giving the drivers the track time that they need to get used to the car and to start building confidence in it and their team. Well, there you have it, another video wrapped up. Don't forget to let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below, and if you did enjoy this video and want to support the channel, then don't forget to subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated, and I will see you in the next one.